APC is an existential threat. One, they don't have respect for separation of powers. You just saw how they forged the tax law to remove the powers of the National Assembly and the powers of the court in order to expand the powers of the executive. That is an existential threat to democracy. Because when there is no separation of power, there will not be checks and balances. In 2027, there is only one remedy. Vote APC, vote Tinubu, vote the cabals that are sucking us dry. Vote them out.
My brothers and sisters, imagine you wake up one morning, ready to hustle as usual, only to hear that the tax law wey suppose start next week, January 1st, don't turn to something else entirely. The one dem pass for National Assembly no be the same one President Tinubu wan sign. Somebody don't go add things inside, remove things, forge am like fake dollar. As a Nigerian wey don tire of bad government, this thing dey pay my heart too much. How can leaders wey we vote for treat us like fools? This no be small mistake o, na pure criminal act, and it dey show say this administration no get respect for law or for us the people. You see these new tax bills? Dem talk say e go make life easier for small business people, reduce tax for workers, help market women and farmers wey inflation and fuel price dey kill every day. But na lawmakers like Honorable Dasuki and others don stand up inside House of Reps to shout say the official copy wey dem print no be wetin they agree. Dem add things like tax people fit enter your bank account, take money without court order, arrest you without proper reason, prosecute you without check and balance. My people, this kind thing na danger. If dem allow am, tomorrow anybody wey talk against government go just see him account empty. I dey beg President Tinubu with everything inside me, suspend these laws now, investigate who forge am, bring the person come out, no cover am up. We no go gree. And e no stop there o. Just last week, Supreme Court give one judgment on top Rivers State matter wey make my mouth open. Dem say President fit declare state of emergency anytime and remove governor or assembly members wey people vote for. Which kind talk be that? Our constitution clear pass water. Governor na we the voters choose am. Only impeachment, resignation or death fit remove am. No be because one man for Asorok wake up say I no like your face again. This judgment dey open door for Tinubu or any president to sack governors for all 36 states if he like. Federalism wey we dey fight for since 1999 go just die like that. Look Rivers State now, Fubara and Wike dey drag power, assembly building don burn, money no dey come from federal, and now court don give president extra power to control everything. My people, this na step back to military time. We no want am. The worst part be say all these things connect. Government dey use EFCC chase opposition people like say na only them dey thief, but their one party members wey get big case dem no touch. Cabals dey chop money finish, fuel subsidy remover, pain the ground, no light, no security, yet dem dey fly private jet up and down. Local government autonomy wey court talk say make them free, till now dem never do am proper. Everything na selective justice and impunity. As a Nigerian wey love this country die, I dey tell you true, this APC government under Tinubu dey become serious danger to our democracy. If we no wake up now, by 2027, e fit too late. But listen, I know they talk say everything bad and we no fit change am. Nigerians strong pass lion. From Aba women riot to June 12 struggle to EndSARS, we don show say when we stand together, nobody fit hold us down. Make we no just dey complain for WhatsApp or beer parlor. Make we ask questions, support good leaders across party lines, prepare to vote well in 2027. Make we tell our senators and reps say we no gree for forged law. Make Labour, NBA, civil society keep making noise. This country too fine, too blessed for us to allow few people spoil am. My brothers and sisters, the Nigeria we want dey possible, where tax money build better school and hospital, where governor fit work without Abuja controlling everything, where law mean the same thing for everybody, rich or poor. That dream still dey alive, but e no go happen by itself. Now we go fight for am with our voice, our vote, our prayer. Make I ask you now, you ready to stand up against bad governance, or we go just sit down look? Time don't reach to choose side. As for me, I don't choose Nigeria, the real one wey belong to all of us. God bless you, God bless Nigeria. We go win this thing together.
Well, let me first of all say that it is very disheartening that in a nation like ours, that the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces can append his signature on a forged document and wants to impose it on the people. You know, the sad thing about this government is the impunity that they display when an abnormality is noticed. A president who has any sense of shame would have immediately pulled that tax. Immediately there was a notification to him that the tax is forged, because forgery is a criminal offense. Honorable Abdul Samad Dasuki, PDP Sokoto, on the floor of the National Assembly, raised the alarm that the harmonized copy that I passed in this National Assembly is different from the gazetted copy. And another Honorable Mansour Soro, he said, the errors were not accidental or coincidental, they were intentional. Meaning there was an intentional act of criminality to forge a document and impose it on the people. So the mens rea has been proved. In other words, the intention of the forgers. Now, what are the differences? The whole idea of forging this tax document is to usurp. The executive wants to use the forgery to usurp the powers of the legislature and the powers of the courts. In the harmonized copy, it was the legislature that was given the power of oversight. Of course, that's even a constitutional right. And reporting back mechanism. In the forged copy, in other words, in the gazetted copy, the power was taken away and now given to tax authorities. Power of coercion. So they can now arrest you. And not only arresting you, the power given to them in the harmonized copy is to investigate. The power now that was forged was they have not been given power to arrest. And not just to arrest. They've been given power to assess your tax. Anything they want to say you are going to pay. And then they have the power now to go to your bank to seize your money in the bank. And they have the power to use your money to purportedly pay your tax without court order. In law, we call it garnishee proceeding. Without court, the tax authorities now have the power to prosecute and to be the judge. Now, when they do such things and you want to go to court, then the forged tax document, in other words, because it's not a law, it's not an act, it's forged. It cannot be an act. An act is passed when the National Assembly passes the act and the president assents to it. Any other alteration, even if it is a punctuation mark, is not the act passed by the National Assembly and is void. So you have obvious contradictions between the harmonized copy by the National Assembly and the forged copy. In other words, the purported gazetted copy, which is now forged, because any alteration to the original document and the originators of the document openly disowns it. That's forgery. When people say it is some provisions, because that is about in section 3, is in section 39, in section 40, section 60, 68, 69, etc. Altered. Let me tell you, if you have 7 credits in your WAEC and you go on your own, the 7 credits is what you got and why I gave you the certificate. And you go on your own and add 1 credit. That makes it 8. You don't say, no, use the certificate. After all, you have 7 credits. It's only one that is, added. Go ahead and be using it. No, the whole document is now forged because of that one credit you added. So the certificate is fake, forged. So even if it is one provision that was intentionally altered, the whole tax law is now forged. What a responsible president would have done is to pull it back so that it does not form a national and international embarrassment. Before people even begin to ask, if they had pulled it the first day, nobody will want to know the details. They will say, oh, it must be an unintentional act. But doubling down on your criminality means that it is an intentional act to forge a document, and you now want to impose the forgery on Nigerians. That is unacceptable. That forged tax law should be pulled down immediately. It is illegal, it's unconstitutional, it's criminal. They cannot impose it on Nigerians.
Are you considering the fact that it has got to this point where it is already a law? Are you considering the fact?
No, it's not a law.
You're calling for
Yes.
it to be withdrawn at this point in time.
Yes, because one, it's not a law.
And you're thinking that Nigerians should be worried over this particular document.
You know, the extent of the disregard for rule of law of Tinubu's government has become so high that I don't think Nigerians are even surprised. The rule of law, this is a government, sorry to say it. You know, one human rights activist said that this government is the government of criminality. And the police is hounding him around. But they have proved him right. Because the president appended his signature on a forged document. And rather than shamefully and apologetically pulling it, they are even considering
That's a way
implementing it.
Allegation.
Now,
Substantiated.
now, what else am I substantiating? Am I a member of the National Assembly? A member of the National Assembly came out on the floor of National Assembly and said that the copy that he passed as a member of the National Assembly is different from the gazetted copy. That is the forged copy. So, what else do I need to prove? They are the ones who made the law. They know the contents of their law. And has the government disclaimed it? No. Has there been any serious talk that it was not altered? I even heard Mr. Taiwo, the chairman of the tax reform, he said, and it's laughable, because he said, yes, if there are alterations, they can go ahead and implement the other ones until the alterations are sorted out. So that's a subtle admission that the document is forged. Sorry, you don't do like that. The law that they have is not the law that was passed by the National Assembly. So what that means is that we do not have any tax law, and nobody should go and impose or implement any law on the Nigerian people that is fake. So this government has displayed that it's a fake government, and it is quite criminal what was done. So what the president should do immediately is to set up a panel, that is if he's not involved in the forgery, so that they will determine the people that did it and bring them to trial and send them to jail. So nothing is surprising about Tinubu's government in terms of disregard to rule of law. He started with it, and throughout his tenure, it is running. Tinubu went to court, the Supreme Court, to get a judgment that the Supreme Court should give a judgment that the federal government should transfer the money of the local government direct to them. More than 1 year, it is not done. That is disregard to rule of law. The judgment of the Supreme Court is sacrosanct. And it is laughable when he was in the caucus meeting that he was telling the governors, obey this law, or I will come in. Let me tell you the truth. Tinubu does not have the intention for the governors to obey the law.
It's not an allegation.
No, it's not an allegation. The judgment of the Supreme Court is to be obeyed immediately. The governors have no business. The governors have no business in the judgment of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said the federal government should pay the money of the local government direct to them. So what are you calling the governors for? What business do the governors now have in this implementation? It has become a law, and the president is the one that implements the law of the land. And the Supreme Court judgments are part of our laws. So if the president is not implementing the law, why is he not doing it? I have the right to project the reasons, because he is in absolute disregard to rule of law. And I am telling you that the only reason is because he intentionally wants the money to stay with the governors so that they will use it to fight for his re-election. That's my conclusion.
Sorry, sir.
Then let him tell us why he has not obeyed the Supreme Court judgment for more than 1 year.
All right, let's take a look at the...
And let me point out, if the governors, for instance, were obeying the Constitution, would he have needed to go to court? Now he went to court, got judgment, and came back again and be telling the governors, obey, obey. No, what business has the governors? You went to the court against them. And then the court gave you judgment, and you're telling them, obey, obey. I mean, this government is a joke.
Okay, let's talk about the implications of Tinubu's decision to invade Republic of Benin without clearance from the National Assembly. As a legal practitioner, what do you think are the implications of that action?
The implication is as simple as it is. What he did was illegal, unconstitutional, and the National Assembly cannot retroactively confirm the illegality. Let me point out that since APC came into governance, they have been carrying out illegality upon illegality, and they use their rubber stamp National Assembly to confirm the illegality. Let me start from President Buhari's time. Recall that President Buhari spent more than 22 trillion naira in ways and means that were not approved by the National Assembly. And when on the eve of his leaving power, he now took the already spent money to the National Assembly to approve. Senator Lawanda was the Senate president, rebuked the executive, and even said he even doubts whether it is legal. Yet they still approved it. Of course it was illegal, because the law is clear. You don't spend any 1 naira from the coffers of the government without it being appropriated. Senator Beribe said that up till now, to his knowledge, the purchase of the presidential aircraft was not appropriated by the National Assembly. Illegality. And now, when we talk about Republic of Benin, that's why I said you can see the trace of illegality following Tinubu's government. In Republic of Benin, the Constitution is very clear. Section 5, subsection 4AB. Before the president will send any member of our armed forces to combat outside Nigeria, he must get the prior approval of the Senate. That's the 5-4B. Did he get it? No. And as such, it's illegal and unconstitutional. When he had already gone there, sent our men in harm's way, he now came to the Senate to legitimize his illegality. Now, you can only send men to fight, if you're the president, before the approval, if our national security is at risk. Then when you do that, then you now go to Senate. But let me ask, what has a coup been conducted in outside our country? What has it to do with our national security? Niger Republic, there was a coup there. Mali, there was a coup there. Burkina Faso, there was a coup there. What has that to do with our national security? Because the border we have with Niger Republic is 2 times more than the border we have with the Republic of Benin. So if that did not threaten our national security, what is the business of Nigeria putting our men in harm's way when we have this terrible insecurity problem in Nigeria? And you're depleting the number to go and fight for your friend in Republic of Benin, another democratic tyrant. That's Patrice Talon. He emasculated all the opposition in his country, sent some of them to jail, wiped out the opposition political parties. And let me point out, when you wipe out the opposition parties and you become a one-party state, you know what? The military will become the only party that you would have to deal with. And that was what happened in all these countries. And if APC wants to go that way of trying to destroy democracy so that they can be the only one party, then they risk the military being the only opposition they will have.
Interesting. So what does Supreme Court ruling mean for the future of democracy in Nigeria if a president can suspend democratic structures during a state of emergency? Does this judgment align with the original spirit and letter of the Nigerian Constitution of federalism and separation of powers?
The Supreme Court judgment is a threat to democracy. Federalism entails that there are tiers of government, and each tier is autonomous and relates with the other tiers based on the constitutional provisions. The president has no right, according to Shetima, the vice president of Nigeria, he has no right to suspend a councillor. Talk more of a governor. Talk more of elected representatives of the people. First of all, that's an affront to separation of power. That's an affront to federalism. That's an affront to democracy. That's an affront to rule of law. Democracy is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. By the Supreme Court insinuating, because the judgment of the Supreme Court is like, you say the Constitution entrusts the president with the discretion to determine the extraordinary measures to take in a state of emergency. And then in their own interpretation, if the president decides that he will remove the elected representative, then that is his discretion. If he does not decide that he will remove the elected representative, that is his discretion. So you say it depends on the situation. But all in all, they gave him that power. And they came under discretionary powers, which is against the rule of law. Rule of law excludes wide discretionary powers. Rule of law is the absolute predominance of the ordinary law, absolute supremacy of the ordinary law as opposed to the influence of arbitrary power, and excludes arbitrariness, excludes prerogative powers, excludes wide discretionary powers. So when you want to be a judge, what you be at the back of your mind, if you want to uphold the rule of law, is to exclude, even if there is vagueness in the interpretation of the law. Your mind will be, what will be that interpretation that will exclude discretionary powers? Because rule of law is that everything should be done according to the law. Rule of law is that if a statute prescribes a particular way of doing things, no other way is allowed. There is no place in the Constitution where they said that the president has the power to remove elected representatives of the people. In the Constitution, the way governors and the National Assembly members are elected and removed is there. Section 178, Section 179, Section 188, Section 189, Section 191. Section 191 said the post of the governor can only be vacant if there is a case of death, resignation, impeachment, permanent incapacity, or removal in accordance with section 188 and or 189. So none of this gives the president the power to remove the elected representatives. They only can come by election. That's why I say 178, 179. The people of Rivers State, for instance, elected their governor, elected their House of Assembly members. And then the Supreme Court is saying the president has the power to remove them. Meaning the danger is that the president can remove the 36 state governors by declaring the state of emergency throughout Nigeria. And say he's going to rule with his son, Sheyi, with his daughter, Iyaloja, and with the wife, Oluremi. So they will allocate states to all of them. But you have heard, when somebody said there are up to 5 cabals in Tinubu's government, you say Oluremi Tinubu's cabal, Sheyi Tinubu's cabal, Bola Tinubu's cabal, the chief of staff cabal, the people, all those, staff around cabal. But he forgot one cabal, the Iyaloja cabal. So that means there will be about 6 cabals using straw, very long straw, to be sipping Nigerians' revenue. You know one thing about this regime? This regime exhibits a nauseating exhibition of executive profligacy. That is the problem with this regime. You can see, it's nauseating because you can see, check Professor Wole Soyinka's face when he was describing about the convoy that follows Tinubu's son. You could see from his head that he wanted to vomit. And that is nauseating. You're borrowing all this money, but your children are going on 100-car convoy. That means 100 drivers. Times it by maybe the 5 cabals. Then you know the problem we are in. This government, honestly, is a tragedy. It's just a tragedy. So, in the Republic of Benin, it is pure illegality which cannot be retroactively legalized. Because when something is an illegality, you can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. Anybody that is killed or harmed, that is a member of the armed forces from Nigeria, that's murder against this government. Because they have taken them to fight illegally and unconstitutionally.
To the issue in Rivers State, did Fubara betray the PDP or save Rivers State by joining the APC? And between Wike and Fubara, who, in your opinion, now controls the real political structure in Rivers State?
First and foremost, Rivers State is a very funny state. There's no argument as to who is in charge. Why? Wike is PDP. Fubara is APC. So Wike is 001 PDP. Fubara is 001 APC. So there are different political parties. So if you ask me, I'll say Fubara is in charge of the leader of APC in Rivers State. Wike is the leader of PDP in Rivers State. You know what I think? One day, Wike will regret that he sold his state to a president that is power drunk. One day, he will regret it. You know, Fubara's own case is very funny. Fubara is suffering from Stockholm syndrome. You know, it's a psychological response. We are the victim of an abuse. Develop positive feelings, loyalty and empathy for his captors, viewing them as allies for survival, not as threats. You know, this results from trauma bonding. You know, like you are kidnapped. The kidnapper is the only person you know. Like Leah Sharibu now. Whatever they tell her in that place is the only thing she hears. So they just need to repeat it. So before you know it, she might start, bonding with them. They might even tell her that they had to kidnap her because the parents want to use her to do juju for money. I'm telling you. So you see a Fubara who is developing positive feelings for Tinubu, that captured the Rivers State, that put him in the trauma of state of emergency and removed him as a way of survival. You know what? Fubara was given multiple political backhands. Supreme Court gave him political backhand, Tawai. The Wike and the House of Assembly gave him Tawai. Tinubu gave him Tawai. Political days filled his eyes. You know, political ajo, ejuanya. Oh, and he's staggering. He did not have any choice than to start looking for survivor. And then he's using Tinubu now as an instrument to survive the political ajujulianya. Do you know? What he does not understand is that Tinubu would have still done everything he would have done for him without declaring state of emergency and removing him. The whole idea of declaring state of emergency and removing him, for me, is to get access to the resources of Rivers State and give it to somebody who, within 6 months, will make a mess of the resources of Rivers State. Did you not hear how the House of Assembly members told the sole administrator to come and account for the money? Did he come? No, he can't come. The money has been blown. That is the whole idea. So, Tinubu now is using a strategy. Tinubu does not trust Wike. Wike does not trust Tinubu. At the initial stage, Wike thought he could trust Tinubu. That was when the House of Assembly members defected. All of them defected at the initial stage. Because Wike, thought he would trust Tinubu. But now that he's seeing certain signs, the people that defected now to APC, only 16 members. So he now kept 10 members in case of any eventuality. Now, the issue here is this. Wike, unfortunately, has no bargaining cards anymore. If he makes any issue, they will throw him out. Because he's an appointee. Now, Fubara is an elected person. Because Tinubu is a man that likes maximum power, he wouldn't want any other person from any other state to emerge that will have maximum power in that state. So what he's doing is he will use Fubara against Wike and use Wike against Fubara so that none of them will emerge to become too powerful in Rivers State. So, unfortunately, Wike is at the lower end of the bargaining chip. So Tinubu will have the upper hand. It's left for Rivers people to decide. But all these things, it's unfortunate. There was no reason for the crisis between Wike and Fubara. It was uncalled for. Now they will see that when you destroy your own brother, your own relation, outsiders will come and take over your resources. That's what is happening. When PDP is already dead, who is the chairman of PDP? Even the INEC chairman is confused as to who is the chairman of PDP. He had to call all of them. You know that meeting he called? If you ask me, I would say in my own opinion, he just want to give them notice that if they continue like this, they may not have candidates for the election. Because there's none of the factions that are recognizable by law. So you're saying Fubara left PDP. PDP is already dead. Who has not left PDP? I can tell you nobody will contest the election. No serious candidate will contest the election under PDP. Because you may just be wasting your time and resources before any form is given to INEC. It has to be signed by the national chairman and the national secretary. The national secretary of PDP belongs to the faction that say you should not produce a presidential candidate. Wike has said it. That PDP should not produce a presidential candidate. So, the national chairman now, the courts say you should not proceed for the Ibadan Convention. And they went and did the Ibadan Convention. So if you ask me who is the chairman of PDP, I say I don't know. And sincerely, I don't. And if the INEC chairman does not know, then who am I to know?
Interesting situation we found ourselves.
He's dead. PDP is dead, effectively.
Your party?
Even Wike said they call him Undertaker. It was as in to go and bury it. So the only thing remaining there. But what I'm begging them is to give PDP a befitting burial.
Your party, the ADC,
yes,
has accused the ruling APC government, of using the EFCC against opposition members, opposition parties.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what's your opinion on this?
It's a very straightforward thing. It is purely a fact.
Are there examples of?
Let me ask. Malami was the minister, the Attorney General of the Federation under Buhari. Buhari handed over power May 29th, 2023. Where were this government? I am not saying anybody who undertakes anything that is against the law that person should not be taken. No, why not? How come it is only when Malami showed his face in ADC unveiling, that's when they remembered that he should come and answer for EFCC? Let me ask, the humanitarian minister that paid flights, commercial flights for people from Abuja to Kogi, when there is no airport in Kogi, please, what have they done to her? She was removed from her office, meaning there is reasonable suspicion she has misconducted herself. And that's the only reason that she could have been removed. So EFCC invited her, interrogated her. Have you heard she has been prosecuted? Now, you went to Delta State. They were arresting people then every week. They will arrest one person. They arrested Okonkwo. And they investigated him. They say he has a case to answer. After they declared for APC, have you heard about the case again? Even in Gige, that is APC person, they have arrested him because certain of his comments is like showing that they should remove the hand of the monkey from the soup because it looks like the hand of an individual. Immediately, that's going that they arrested him. So you could see selective justice. You could see political intimidation. You could see selective persecution of the opposition leaders. So what we are saying is that rule of law means equal subjection of all classes, equal subjection of all classes of the people to the law administered by the courts. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. So the issue here is that they are picking the opposition leaders for selective justice to dissuade other people from joining the opposition parties. Sending a message that once you join, your sins will be remembered and punished, if any. But when you join APC, your sins are forgiven. An APC stalwart did it. You saw how an APC stalwart went to the airport and blocked airport. The Minister of Aviation said it was wrong. Were they prosecuted? Was he prosecuted? You saw how when the musician of APC misconducted himself, they said they would rather give him ambassador. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, please, when it comes to rule of law, I told you, Tinubu's government is a stranger to it. So there is absolute selective justice against the opposition leaders. But you know what? That will not save Tinubu and his government. Because they are the ones that need to be in the prison, not in the presidency. People who forge laws are supposed to be in the prison. People who send our men in uniform to die illegally, fighting for another country. When we have insecurity problems in our country, they are supposed to be in prison. People who will disobey Supreme Court judgments, even 1 year after it was delivered. That's contempt of court. They are supposed to be in prison, not in the presidency. People who are spending money that is not appropriated by the National Assembly. They are supposed to be in prison, not in the presidency. The people who are supposed to be in the prison are the people in the presidency. And that is why Nigeria is being treated like a criminal group from world leaders. You heard one leader say he's going to come gun a-blazing. It's because he believes that he's dealing with people with criminal mind, not administrative mind. It's very unfortunate.
Many people have said that the APC is a threat to democracy in Nigeria. On some levels.
APC is an existential threat to Nigerian democracy. You saw what happened in 2023 with technical glitch. People no longer believe that their votes will count. You saw how results were not electronically transmitted from the polling unit. And you saw how the imprimatur of the court was used to legitimize that illegality. And now, when Tinubu now assumed power, in 2023, you had three parties, PDP, LP, and APC, that struggled for the post of the president. And each one of them got 12 states. And you had the NMPP that had one state. Where is PDP and LP? They are dead. Because of the champatos leadership style of Tinubu. You know, champati in law means a third party instigating disputes among two parties in order to take the gain of it. You heard when Tinubu said and boasted, I would enjoy them to kill themselves. Allow them to kill themselves now. Why are you killing them through your own surrogates? Wike is working for you as a minister. So you are the one who is killing PDP using your minister. I just hope Wike does not end up killing himself, as in politically, because that would be political suicide. You know, Wike said one political mistake he regretted was when he said he brought Ahmadu Sharif to be the PDP chairman. Said he regrets it in his life. I just pray for him that this should not be the second mistake he will regret all through his life, because that will be political suicide. So the issue is that APC is an existential threat. One, they don't have respect for separation of powers. You just saw how they forged the tax law to remove the powers of the National Assembly and the powers of the court in order to expand the powers of the executive. That is an existential threat to democracy. Because when there is no separation of power, there will not be checks and balances. You can see how they went to court. You can see how the court now says the president has discretion to remove elected representatives of the people. That is existential threat to democracy. So, a party that does not guarantee free, fair, credible election, that will technically glitch your election in order to announce the result in the cloak of darkness, is a threat to democracy. A party that is destroying opposition political parties and selectively punishing opposition leaders in order to render opposition to it ineffective is a threat to democracy. A party that does not respect rule of law, I've shown you the illegalities in terms of rule of law, is a threat to democracy. There has not been any party in Nigeria or any president that has constituted himself a threat to democracy like this government and like this president, where you have up to 6 cabals that are using straw to sip and suck our national resources. They are doing it. You know, drinking it like children drink their mother's breast. Army, they are an army, our national way, army akala. I have not seen a thing like that in my life. I just hope that the calcium that is in the mother of a child does not finish due to the too many mouths sucking the breast. Because when the calcium finishes, the bones will collapse. The bones are the anatomical structure that holds the human beings. This government with its cabals are sucking this nation dry. And I just hope they don't suck us to death.
Any remedy to the situation we found ourselves in the country?
Vote them out. Nigerians now should understand that this government does not have respect to their votes. So they must factor in the fact that they will vote and defend their votes. No government is superior to the people. How many are the politicians? They're up to 5,000. So we cannot be silent this time. Nigerians should vote them out and insist that their votes should count. No amount of beautiful laws can guarantee you assurance that there will be no rigging. It is eternal vigilance of the people that is the protection for democracy. There cannot be any alternative to eternal vigilance. So the price you pay for liberty, for democracy, is eternal vigilance. And when you're dealing with all these cabals, you have to be vigilant. In 2027, there is only one remedy. Vote APC, vote Tinubu, vote the cabals that are sucking us dry. Vote them out.